And I kind of walked in, sheetrock, rectangle room, all sheetrock, drop ceiling, concrete floor. And I was just kind of like, oh crap. I mean, how are we going to do this?
So this is Andrew Stone. He's the production director at Church on the Move in Tulsa, Oklahoma. If it involves production or technology to pull off their worship experience at any other campuses, it goes through him and his team. And prior to being on staff at Church on the Move, he was the guy you called when you needed to pull together a big concert tour like Third Day. He knows how to make things big, and Church on the Move is known for its big, larger-than-life, immersive worship experiences at high quality in production value. And many of us are inspired by them. I'm inspired by them. But churches the size of Church on the Move are the anomaly. Most of our churches are 200 members or less, so when we see what they're doing online or we go to Seeds Conference, we're tasked with taking that large vision and scaling it down to something that fits our context and our size better. And it's harder than it may seem on the surface. So I wanted to sit down and talk with someone that would have firsthand knowledge, some real world examples of doing just that, taking the essence of a church like Church on the Move and scaling it down to something smaller that's more realistic to the average sized church. And I thought about it and I realized the best people to talk to about this would be Church on the Move, because when they opened their South Tulsa campus 5 years ago, that's exactly what they had to do. The South Tulsa campus is much smaller, both in size of the congregation and also the venue size, never mind the fact that it has to be portable. So they had to figure this out just like we've had to figure it out. Some things they figured out in the planning stages at the very beginning, and some things they figured out over time after doing it wrong and seeing that it didn't translate. I'm Dave Dolphin from PracticalWorshipBlog.com, sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. And here's part of my conversation with Andrew Stone.
So how do you make it scalable? That was the big question. So we just started figuring it out. Okay, what's the baseline, what's the least common denominator for our music? We figured that out. It's a 4-piece band, some singers, and some tracks. That's pretty normal to most churches that are doing this. And we had to take a lesson from smaller churches and go, what's working for you? Mm-hmm. Like how do you pull this off? Tracks were a big thing. Mm-hmm. We didn't ever use tracks. We always put live musicians on stage because we thought it was more authentic. You know what? I like it. And I like all the real instrumentation. And why would we have a keyboard that sounds like a Wurlitzer when you can actually have a Wurlitzer and a B3? And right. Doesn't make sense. So we just had to adopt some of these other attitudes, which probably sounds stupid that we were so late to the game, but it was, truthfully, we hadn't really thought about how we do this. So we just had to start at zero. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's the least common denominator for the music? So if you're familiar with what we do at Church on the Move, we usually do these huge songs with big sweeping lighting looks and all that. We're in a room where I can't use haze. There is no atmosphere. I can't do it. They can't disable their fire detection system. So there's no smoke or fog machines in that room. So, well, that's not going to work. It's a low ceiling. Any kind of lights you put in the audience are just going to blind everybody. It's projectors, not LED. You just name it. Every single thing we had to compromise on, but it all equaled. Mm-hmm. We found a charm that worked.
Well, you even say compromise. You compromise compared to like how you do it here at Central, but there was a sense of like this is what's appropriate here. Like we chose projection because that's the right choice here.
Correct.
We chose to only have a 4-piece and a couple of singers because that's the right choice here.
The right choice, and that's where we look at a lot of these things and we look at what everybody else does and we think, if I could only do this. Well, really? Like, yeah, we could add tons more lighting. And you know what? The lighting looks fine out there. It's not going to win some huge award, but we aren't wanting to win an award. Mm-hmm. We could put in a ton of lighting, but you've added an hour or two to a setup. You've got to store them. I don't know where we get the capital to pay for them. You're certainly not going to rent, for that kind of a setup. So what's the point? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a haze or atmosphere in the room, you could add 500 more lights and you're not going to notice it because you can't see any beams and all that kind of stuff. So we compromised on almost everything we did.
So how do you do Church on the Move light, like something that you walk into the room and say, okay, yep, that's Church on the Move. Right. How do you do that? Smaller venue, no haze, and very limited on, like, what did you land on?
We figured out that trying to do the exact set list that we were doing at Central wasn't going to work. Now, we may do the same songs, but trying to do them, we initially started this, and we've gone through so many permutations of success and failure with this, because we didn't know. There's no handbook. Or maybe there is now. There wasn't.
You guys are writing it.
Yeah, I guess. We're still figuring it out, but we initially started with whatever we do here, we're going to do there. That's it. Same set list, same songs, same style. We realized just a couple weeks in, we're like, it doesn't work. We base our whole sound here on an immersive experience. You're not going to get an immersive experience in a room that size. It's not that big. So let's tackle it a different way. Do the same songs, but let's change the arrangements a little bit. It might be the same map, but let's change the arrangements a little bit. Let's focus a little more on the acoustic instruments, the acoustic guitar. Here, I call an acoustic guitar a crutch. There, it's useful because you build your mix a little differently. The drums are there, they're present, but they're totally enclosed in glass. I mean, it's an aquarium. There's a lid and everything. We had to. Well, that makes the drums sound a certain way. It's not good or bad. It's necessary. But we compromised on some of that. So you would sit here in a big open room with, 165,000 watts of PA, and it's just huge, whatever. Out there, it's not that. But it's perfect for the room. It's like we finally figured out how to scale to the space. Like a goldfish. You put a goldfish like in a little bowl and it just stays that big. You throw it in a pond and it grows huge and gangly.
Right.
So we had to figure out how do we put all these elements in a small space and play to the room. The creative staff and the music team, they look for moments. But the moment here on a huge stage with tons of production and tons of staff and all that, may be a different moment out there. But it's the same quest. So you're scaled. The moment here is going to be big. Well, over here, it's this big. So the moment is going to be different. That's our plan. We're trying to find worship moments, introducing people to, setting them up to hear about the real Jesus from someone. That can mean a multitude of different things. But you're right, the reality check is huge. The art of the worship leaders at these campuses, and we've had several out there, the art for them is not just having a magnificent song service, it's knowing when a song doesn't work, like you were talking about earlier. So sometimes the set that we're going to do everywhere, we're doing a big, huge Bethel song or something here in this room, and it works because it's huge and washy.
Right.
And
you got the dolly shot and all that.
And the videos are going to make it, and the lights are going to make it. They go out there, and now they know enough about it to go, reality check?
That's not going to
It's not going to fly. The people are going to just listen to it, and it's not going to really connect because it kind of needs to be big and loud and immersive. It's not going to get that way. So we're going to switch it out for a song that we've done a million times, but we're going to put it in here and do Cornerstone or whatever. And you know what? Everybody's going to sing their guts out, and it's going to be a real moment. Great. So we deviated from the script for one song. Who cares?
Right.
It was a win.
Well, and you were able to, to do something maybe at that campus because it's smaller. You can take advantage of the fact that it's smaller. That would not fly here at Central.
Right. And you can get away with it. We've done some really cool moments out there that I've been privileged to be a part of, where you're just kind of like Easter out there was fantastic.
So let's talk about that. So give me concrete examples. Obviously people see a lot of whether it's Easter or Seeds or Christmas or whatever, what Church on the Move is capable of doing, on a big scale. So give me some examples of,
So this last Easter, we had, it was some kind of crazy scrim or some, maybe it was a black scrim or something that was just a really huge part of making this whole thing come together. I think it was a black scrim, and the way video looked through it, huge deal. We're in a 15-foot ceiling room. There's no scrim.
No.
What are you going to do? It's going to look retarded. By the time
And it's going to fall 10 feet.
Yeah, and if there's even enough weight to make it fall, by the time you put the rigging up, it's just a mess. So it was like, how do you solve that? Well, you take the same imagery, the same stuff that you would have projected onto a black scrim here, and you shoot it on the video screens. And you know what? We brought in a few extra lights, and believe it or not, we actually took in haze for Easter, and we had to pay the city for a live fire watch, which is what it's called, where they have live fire captains in the room watching for fire, and they turn the thing off. It's totally legal. It's all great, but it costs a lot for a small campus to do it. Well, for Easter, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that every week. So we actually got to put atmosphere in the room. Well, you start doing that, and then the imagery on the side actually starts getting a little murky because you can really turn the atmosphere up. And all of a sudden, you've got kind of a similar effect as looking through scrim at a video, which we were doing here, right? We just did it a different way. Totally easy. It didn't cost that much money. We brought in a few extra lights. We rented an LED wall instead of projection. We love our projectors. I mean, they're huge Barco projectors that are awesome, but
For Easter.
LED looks different. It's engaging. So for Easter, and we had rented the room for the whole week, so we had time to put in a big wall, make it look cool. We turned off the side projectors. So it was just a whole different feel. People walked in, and it was an ooh and ah moment. That's all we did. It was the same set, a few extra lights, an LED wall that was rented in, and it wasn't that big of a deal. A few little changes like that were realistic to do. And before you know it, you had a very similar moment that created a worshipful atmosphere based around Easter, the same way as here. Completely two different production angles on how to do it. But the end result was the songs we did here, they did there. You know what? They had a late Sunday service after we were done at the main campus. My wife and I went out there, and dude, I'm tired. I'm blitzed, right? I went out there, and I really enjoyed the service. I really did, because it was simple. And I was just kind of sitting there marveling, going, this sounds really good. And like everybody here is engaged. And it's like 4 p.m. on Easter when you would rather be home eating ham and deviled eggs.
Right.
And it was a really meaningful experience. And I'm like, I guess I'm jaded. I don't know. I mean, I do this so much, but it was just one of those things where you're just out there going, this is really great. And all the same message that we were evoking from the art here, I received there.